The refinement comes from having the data to know what needs to be developed, what needs to be enhanced, what needs to be perfected. Who here has worked 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours, 80 hours in your business and was still broke? I hate when people be getting online. It's like, you just need to focus on working smarter and not harder and articulating your value, and that's just how you make more money. All the online marketers, all these coaches, everybody running ads to you doesn't want you to know. They're trying to sell you into something that they want you to buy. Hey there! So today's episode is going to be all about these fundamental necessary attributes and aspects of transitioning into group delivery. We're going to be discussing two of the most frequently asked questions I get in my direct messages. If you're not following me over on Instagram, go do that. Two of the most frequently asked questions we have when it comes to transitioning into group is, first, do I have enough existing demand to even be offering a group program? And secondarily is, does my curriculum need to be pre-recorded before I launch my group program? So I want to just break down what I know to be true. We have, I've worked with hundreds of clients when it comes to designing a curriculum-based group coaching program and designing it in a way so that the offer is fundamentally scalable. And we're going to just be talking that through with you. As always, at the end of the episode, I will be answering some questions, doing Q&A over on Instagram. So if you're catching this live, or if you're catching this in the replay and you want to join us live next time, make sure to be following me over on Instagram. I'm at Jerisha Hawk, because at the end of every live stream, I always do a Q&A to address and answer any questions that you have. So let's go ahead and just dive on in. One thing about etiquette over here around my parts, on the internet, on Hawk Hustle Lane, is that if you hear something that resonated, if you hear a gem that was dropped, help your neighbor out. And what I mean by helping your neighbor, I mean just type that little gem in the comments. Indicate that this was a boom, 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 boom moment type of thing, a little hot moment, a hot girl moment by throwing some hearts up on the screen or sharing the video on your timeline. Etiquette is required over here around these parts. So if you hear something that you loved, type it in the comments to help your neighbor out. And if something is resonating, just throw some hearts up on the screen, like the video, show some love to give a visual indication that girl, she just brought the heat on us and we wasn't ready, okay? She just snatched my edges and listen, I wasn't prepared. Whatever it might be, just show some love. So we're going to get into the question that you guys voted for these topics that we're discussing today. You guys voted on my Instagram story, so shout out to you if you interacted on this poll, because this is the reason why we're doing this. But the poll responses were so close, I just decided we're going to discuss both because one was more popular, but one is more necessary. So the first thing, I got Post-it notes, okay? If you are new around here, grab your notebook. You might want to have a pen and paper out. But I want to answer the first question is, how do you know if you have enough demand to transition into group? Or how do you validate whether or not you actually have enough existing demand to transition into group enrollment? The first thing I want to break down and make sure that we are on accordance and understanding of is there are three things for you to look at to validate whether or not you're in a healthy position to be selling anything. If you're raising your rates, charging high ticket, I want you guys to understand that sales boils down to these three things, especially around high ticket offers. The first is the value that you can articulate. Your ability to command a higher ticket price point, especially your ability to command a higher ticket price point in group delivery, is rooted in your ability to articulate your value. How effective are you at articulating your value? The second thing that is most important is how effective are you at delivering your value? So whatever program promise you've established, whatever container that you are enrolling people into, it is about how effective are you at delivering the value that you promised somebody upon the moment that they enroll, the value that you can actually deliver. The third thing that is most important is the demand that currently exists. And I want to break down these three things. Rate yourself right now. Which one of those three areas do you feel like you do really, really well? Are you really strong at articulating the value that you're able to support your clients with getting? One, are you really effective at delivering the value that you promised? Two, or are you really, really strong at being able to generate and there's a large existing demand for whatever it is that you're selling and for whatever it is that you want to be selling? If you had to give yourself a 1, 2, or a 3, which one would you say are you most strongest at right now? Which one do you feel like you are strongest at? 1, 2, or 3? Articulating your value is 1. Delivering the value that you promises to. Or 3 is your ability to drive demand and that there's a large existing demand for what it is that you offer. If you are like 88, 99% of my clients, where you guys have the strongest capability, this was myself included for a very long time, is many of us are very, very strong in number 2. We're really, really great at delivering the value that we promised. We're really, really great at over delivering based off of what we promised. We're really, really strong at the coaching, the supporting the client, the helping the client get the result. And I would say that's where most people start when they start working with us. They're very effective at being able to deliver value. And that's a really great place to be in. If you are a coach, if you're an industry expert, if you're a done-for-you provider, but you're interested in transitioning into group delivery, if you're really good at delivering the result, that's a really strong component. But guys, we live in a capitalistic society. Money matters, and people's perception about what they're spending money on is incredibly just as important. When it comes to, do I have enough demand to transition into group? I'm breaking down these concepts because this tees us up for the second part of this conversation. You being effective at delivering value is not enough to transition into group. When you start to go into group delivery, being able to deliver what you promise is a non-negotiable. That needs to be cost of entry. That needs to be like bare bones. That's what you're getting a paycheck for type of thing. Many of us have this employee mindset that gets matriculated over into us running a business, that we have this belief that if I just do good work, I will get recognized. If I deliver good work, people should just pay me more money and pay me what I'm worth. And that mentality, when I was in corporate, it's very difficult for you to receive a promotion, be recognized by your superiors, or to move up in the corporate ladder. Because what we all know to be true is that you putting your head down and doing a good job and just delivering on what was promised, that's cost of entry. That's not enough for acceleration. That's not enough for upward mobility. That's not enough for promotion. And that's very true in business. You do not get paid in business for the work that you do. Who here for how long has worked 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours, 80 hours in your business and was still broke? That was me in the beginning. Your time spent to do the job is not a direct correlation to how much money you will get paid in business, unfortunately and fortunately. But I just want to make sure that we are understanding that first and foremost. Delivering value is not enough to drive demand for a higher price point or for a larger container. When it comes to transitioning into group delivery, you being able to deliver on what you promise is a non-negotiable. The second thing is, how effective are you at articulating the value of what it is that is being delivered? Your ability to articulate your value allows you to control your ability to drive demand for the offer that you are selling. When I talk about value articulation, this is like multi-step situation, because if you want to go to group, you have to have a cadence for being able to consistently articulate your value. And let me break down what that means, because I hate when people begin online. It's like, you just need to like focus on working smarter and not harder and like articulating your value, and that's just how you make more money. But like nobody ever then breaks down that concept of like, okay, I hear what you're saying high level, but like make it make sense. So what I mean by articulating your value is, do you have a unique and distinguished perspective around whatever it is that you are actually selling? So this is one thing, is that even if you're in a saturated marketplace, you're also dealing with a very sophisticated buyer pool. You're dealing with a very sophisticated audience. Many people no longer believe the generic claims of, I will help you grow in your career, I will help you build your business, I will help you make more money online, I will help you grow your agency, I will help you book more events. Like, you have to have a distinguished perspective around what it is that you are doing. Those minimum claims are not going to be convincing enough for somebody to want to work with you, especially at a premium price point and especially in a group container. So what I mean by value articulation is, do you have a cadence and do you have a process, a framework that you can consistently follow so that you have a high frequency at which you are publishing your messaging, you are publishing your marketing content, so that you can be conveying your perspective on what it is that you are teaching, that you can be educating and shifting your audience's beliefs around the vehicle in which you use to deliver that result. And that's just from a marketing perspective. So you have to have a cadence and a consistent process that you can be following to convey your perspective, to educate and inform your audience about the unique attributes of why your vehicle that you use with inside of your program is the best vehicle they should be using to get the result that you are delivering. The third thing here is like you having a really, really keen understanding of who your Olympian is. This is what we call your ideal client, because it's not just about being able to articulate value to attract ideal clients. It's about being able to articulate value to attract and pre-qualify the most qualified leads for your program. So your ability to articulate your value at the level of sophistication that your most qualified lead is part of that articulation of value. So if you are doing that efficiently, then you will inherently be driving demand for the offer that you are selling. When people reach out and say, hey Jay, I want to go to group. And when I ask the question, okay, I say, how many private one-on-one clients have you worked with? Oh, I've worked with 2 or 3. Okay, have you taught this in a course container or some other group delivery? No, not yet. The thing about transitioning to group, it is not about what we want to do as a business owner. It is 100% about what demand currently exists and my ability to articulate my value on a consistent cadence so that I can be consistently driving leads for my group enrollment. Those are the 2 fundamental things that are required for you to go to group. Not your ability to deliver the result. You need to already have validated that you can get the result as you are promising for your program. So if you're really good at number 2 of value delivery, if you're not good at value delivery, you probably need to pause and enroll 5 or 6 private one-on-one clients so that you can actually validate that your process can deliver on the promise that you're selling people into. If you cannot validate whether or not I have demand to go to group, the first thing that you have to validate is, can my process actually deliver on the promise that I'm selling people into? Because if your process cannot deliver on the promise that you are selling people into, you are going to be in a shitstorm of a situation when you've got 30 people in your group and nobody is getting the result. That's the ghetto. None of us want to be in that situation. So we have to make sure that group delivery is not just about your personal preferences as the business owner. It is not just about my ego. You can't have a scalable business if you don't already have an existing scalable process that delivers repeatable results. So we cannot put the cart in front of the horse. We cannot be out here offering up wifey services when we are barely dating homeboy. We gotta pump the brakes on the vehicle. We out here going 82 down a highway in your Tesla Model S, but you ain't got no insurance. I'm gonna need you to slow your roll. I'm gonna need you to, hold on now, calm it down, okay? I'm gonna need you to close the legs, pump the brakes, and check yourself. Self-awareness is key. If you do not have a process that you have validated that can get a consistent client result, you are not ready to go to group. Because if you have 15 clients in a group, 3 clients in a group, you will overwhelm yourself because you cannot deliver on what you promised. And I know for all of my type A individuals, all of my perfectionists in the room, all of my overachievers, that will cause you to be in a position where you will start doubting your self-confidence. You will start doubting your capabilities. It will erode at your intuition. And we do not want to put you in a mental state. We can avoid that overwhelm by just slowing it down. I understand that you want to have a scalable business. Let's first validate that you actually have a business. By means of validating that you have an offer that people are willing and able to pay for, that you can articulate the value around, and that delivers a consistent result in accordance to what you promised. So that's step number 1 is, can I actually deliver it to the person who paid? That is step 1. So I'm a really big believer that before you go to group, you need to validate not just the offer, but just validate, can I actually get this result for a client? If you guys are, depending on where you're at in business, I'm a big proponent of work with a handful of private one-on-one clients. Many clients who join us inside of Leverage, before they launch their group, they validate their offer and they validate the nuances of their processes before they go to group. Half of our clients are focused on, how do I get 3 to 5 private one-on-one clients so that you don't have to be broke while you're validating. Put that down in your notebook. You do not need to be broke while you are validating. Because if you are already packaging up existing expertise, things that you already know how to do, when you can validate this, you can be getting paid premium, because if you're doing private one-on-one, you can typically even command a higher price point than what you would in group in some situations. So you're getting paid real time to work with a client who is committed to the process so that you can also work on refining and enhancing and validating your process on the result that you know you can help a client get. Recognize, I need to pump my brakes. I keep wanting to sell a group program. I keep wanting to package this passive offer, but I have not yet validated the process that I'm selling people into to ensure that I can actually guarantee the result that I am promising. And then you be wanting to throw a high ticket price tag on it. If you care about ethically selling and morally selling your services and positioning yourself in this industry and establishing credible reputation around what it is that you are doing, let's get it together. So that's the first thing. thing. Second thing, after you have been able to validate that your process can deliver on the promise that somebody paid for, the next thing that we need to check ourselves with is, do I have existing demand to transition to a group program? And many of us want to go to group, but many of us have not yet earned the right to transition to that business model. If you have not validated that your process can deliver on that promise, and then secondarily, if you do not have enough existing demand to book private one-on-one clients, what causes you to think that out of nowhere, just because you're launching a group, that now you're gonna have even more qualified leads to join you inside of your group program if you weren't able to generate enough demand to work with you private one-on-one? I'm just shooting straight facts today, okay? I ain't trying to come for nobody's neck. I'm just talking through experience, and I am talking based off of what I know to be true for the clients that we have served. Like, we have to make sure that there actually demand for me to go to group? Or am I just trying to go to group because I'm impatient, because I want to satisfy my ego, because I want a scalable offer even though I'm not at capacity? Like, I'm a really big believer that your current capacity should be influencing what your business model container is. And because if you know that if you have 3 to 5 one-on-one clients, and you're consistently getting people to like raise their hand and reach out to want to work with you, you're doing a good job of articulating and displaying your value. That lets us know that you've been doing your job to earn that demand. And if you do not have existing demand, you just have to think about, can my business model, can my cash flow support group delivery? Are there enough qualified leads for me to enroll in this group on a consistent enough basis for me to be able to sustain my cash flow needs for the season of business that I am in? That's really the question we have to be answering. What I'm doing right now is articulating my value. This is me displaying my ability to articulate my value around a common objection, a common misconception correlated to the promise that I help clients solve. I'm increasing your trust in me because you can see my body language, you can hear my nuances, but also I'm helping you think differently than you did before as it correlates to this topic. I'm giving you a public display of my ability to build your trust in knowing that I can help you with this result, or I can help you with this topic, or I can help you with in this nuance. But now, how can I leverage my live video to consistently drive demand? So first, I'm articulating my value through this live stream. Based off the private metrics that I see happens as a result of this video, that will first let me validate, is this video quality? Did it help me attract qualified leads for my program? If this video does a good job of attracting qualified leads for my services, then what I can do to help create consistent demand is repurpose this live video into future content. Generating demand starts with your ability to be able to articulate your value. And you being able to articulate your value first starts with your ability to clarify, what is the promise that I'm selling? How do I know if this lead is qualified? So that I can create marketing content topics that directly speak to that specific individual, not to anybody, but to that specific individual in a way that they will understand it, they will consume it, they will resonate with it. That all helps me create demand. And my ability to consistently publish this content is what will allow me to attract new leads, to bring qualified candidates to my program. But when people say like, Jay, do I have enough demand to go to group? Let's actually look at, do you already have a process that can deliver a repeatable result? And that's a really important thing. This is part of what we help clients do inside of Leverage. Another way that you can kind of like skip or bypass that nuance and do it quicker is design a program already in accordance to results you've gotten, not results you're trying to get better at achieving. Too many people second guess, diminish, and disqualify the expertise that they already have, and then go try to create a program that has nothing to do to the expertise and the results they've already gotten. And my question is, why? Why are you making your life harder? Business is already hard enough. I can guarantee you there's enough barriers and hurdles that you will have to overcome being a business owner. Our best clients own their existing expertise. If you have 15 years of experience as a real estate broker, why are you discounting that expertise of you knowing how to help investor navigate the process of purchasing their first home? Why are we discounting that expertise? If you are somebody who has self-published multiple books, why are we not honoring the fact that you have that expertise, and why aren't you packaging that into a promise that you can sell? Helping another C-suite executive publish their very first thought piece and establish their authority outside of their role. Why are we not doing that? Pull from the direct experience that you already have, because one, that's going to help you. Demand already exists around the thing you already do and the thing that people already associate your expertise with. You don't even have to manufacture the demand. If you think about where does demand for what I do or for experience that I have, results that I've gotten, where does that demand already exist? I'm a beast at organic marketing. This is why that's the foundation of my program. We teach people how to raise their rates, articulate their value, and organically scale their group coaching program. You will never see me teaching a program on paid ads. Why? Because I don't even spend money on paid ads. And quite honestly, paid ads have never been the biggest return on investment for me in my business. So how do you know if you're ready to transition to group? And do you know if you have demand? It's really about a promise that already correlates to where demand exists so that you don't have to manufacture it. Pick a program and pick a promise that is already correlated to the results that you've already gotten. Our best clients have 5 to 10 years of experience doing the thing that they are packaging into their program. And the reason why they are successful is because demand already exists. People already associate that result with who they are. So they don't have to go into the marketplace trying to rewire people's perception of them. They're basically profiting off the perception that already exists. Many of the time, oftentimes, the areas where you've already been putting in the work, establishing the expertise, developing your credentials is already validated. So that's what I got to say about transitioning to group and making sure this demand exists. Design a program that already is aligned with the expertise that you've been working your entire life to establish and get. And the last thing about knowing if you have demand to transition to group is just honor the season that you are in. Every $1 million business owner that you see online, if you go on my podcast, if you go scroll all the way back down to those early episodes, I interviewed so many industry experts, Caitlin Batcher, Tyler J. McCall. I've chatted with Amy Porterfield, Mike McAllowitz. I've chatted with Megan Ward. I've chatted with so many industry names that are in our space who have scalable businesses now. And the one question that I asked them is, what did you do that allowed you to get to your first 6 figures? They worked high ticket with private one-on-one clients. They did not try to create a passive business out of the beginning because they didn't have an audience for it. They didn't have capital for it. They didn't have aspects established. It was high ticket private one-on-one clients. So just honor the season that you are in. The quicker you're willing to honor the season that you are in and to implement a business model aligned with the season that you are in, the quicker you will see results. The quicker you will make more money. And if you know that your desire is to serve clients in a high touch, high value container with a high ticket group program, let's do some validation, especially if your business is not in a place where you have the cash flow to sustain the transition. That's all I got to say on that. So that's my 2, 3, and 4 cents about transitioning to group. We got to make sure that you have a process in place for you to be able to effectively articulate your value. The value articulation, the effectiveness of what you articulate is rooted in what the program promise is that you're selling, so that when you are designing your marketing content, your messaging can directly be correlated to those 2 things. That value articulation is what will allow you to help amplify and drive demand for your offer. And we want to make sure there's consistent enough demand so that you can actually support enrollment on a group basis. So you want to make sure that you are consistently, your messaging and your marketing cadence is doing its job to drive demand on a regular basis so that you can enroll clients into a group container on a frequent cadence, on a frequent basis. And when you transition to group, new objections come in. You now have to articulate your value of why group is a better option than working with you private one-on-one. That is a new objection that you have to work on overcoming. It is a new objection that you have to learn how to articulate your value around. So it's not just about I'm now going to group. You have to be able and be in a position where you can be prepared to strengthen your operational process to allow you to sustain the group model that you now transition into. So do you need to document and pre-record your curriculum before you transition to group? This is going to be unpopular opinion. And the reason being is because I want you guys to remember something. All the online marketers, all these coaches, everybody running ads to you doesn't want you to know. Guess what? They're trying to sell you into something that they want you to buy. Okay? So just recognize that at any moment, anybody who has a business, they are saying what they're saying to some degree, especially when they don't give you context around what they're telling you to do, because they want you to do what they want you to do. They want you to buy what they're selling, okay? I want to give you guys context in addition to what my advice is, because context is really important so that you can make the best decision for yourself. If you are an individual who is packing a group program and designing a group program based off of results that you have already gotten past clients, or based off results that you've worked privately one-on-one with clients around, or based off results that you've already gotten for yourself, guess what? You know how to help the client get the result. You know how to deliver the promise because you have the intellectual property and you have validated that that intellectual property, when applied, gets the result that you promised. If you already have that in place, the best way for you to deploy your group program for the first time is teaching it live. Teaching it live, not pre-recording it. I do not advise any coach to pre-record any of their curriculum when their offer is new. If you have not sold your program and had paid clients enroll in your program, do not pre-record. And this is the reason why. One, many of us as coaches confuse ourselves as course creators. And many of us as coaches confuse our responsibility when launching a group program. You're also a teacher. If you are launching a group program, you are now taking on the responsibility that now I am also a teacher to my clients in this program. I am not just a coach, I'm also a teacher. And I have to strengthen, refine, practice, put my reps in to make sure that I am an effective teacher. Because you being able to deliver the result in a done for you capacity, you being able to deliver the result in a retainer relationship, you being able to deliver the result in a private one-on-one customized situation is absolutely not the same as being able to unpack your intellectual property in a way where you can teach it to somebody else where they can get the result without dependency from you. Just because you know how to get the result does not mean that you have developed the skills to teach somebody else how to get the result that you just sold them into. And you need to practice that. You need to work on that. You need to develop that skill set. This is why I do not think anybody here should be pre-recording their group program. If you're selling high ticket, that's another assumption. I'm assuming that you are charging $3,000 or more for your program. Do not confuse that with a digital course. Those two containers are fundamentally different. If I'm talking about group program, true group programs where there is curriculum, there is coaching, there is community, that you are charging $3,000 or more for the container. Not to be confused with a digital course. A digital course is to be designed to be self-study, but many digital courses in the online space bonus group calls. Group calls being bonus does not now make that digital course a group program. Just because hundreds of people bought the digital course and there's hundreds of people in the Facebook group does not mean that that is a group container. It just means that a group of people who are going through a self-study program are going through that program because they all purchased it together. And the differences that you can tell is if you look inside of a digital course compared to a group coaching program, the quality, the depth, and the caliber of responses to questions asked is fundamentally different. If it is a digital course, the community group will have a lot of cheerleading and a lot of guides. The only questions they can answer is giving you direction. They're not coaching you. They're not helping you work through limiting beliefs. They're not helping you with the comprehension of the material. They're typically pointing you back to a resource in a pre-recorded training. The reason why I do not believe that you should pre-record your trainings until you have launched that program, you've had consistent client results, because that now validates that the way in which you're teaching it actually is getting the client the result that you are enrolling them into, and that you want to make sure that you've had enough clients to have enough data to validate that the way that you're teaching is actually effective. I see somebody on here said, I wasted so much money pre-recording my content. Many of us do. We hire curriculum designers prematurely. We hire these agencies who truly are agencies for digital courses, not group coaching programs. We spend $5, $10, $15,000, $20,000 hiring these filmmakers or hiring these video editors, hiring these agencies to design our curriculum prematurely. And the reason why I say it's prematurely because there has to be a couple rounds of iteration before that you feel confident that you can validate that the curriculum is not going to change substantially, that the curriculum is effective, meaning that the way in which you're teaching, you have client data that you can match up with it to say, okay, the way that I am teaching this, clients are getting the result that was promised. And to ensure that your offer doesn't change. Many times when you're designing a group program, your first 2 or 3 cohorts, you're getting so much data and you start to recognize like, ooh, I thought this was my Olympian. It's actually not. When you are teaching your clients live, you get to be able to co-create the design and the structure of of the curriculum with your clients. And that's really, really crucial. It's incredibly important. Your feedback from your clients needs to be the thing that drives and dictates the frameworks that you document in your program. So when you are launching your group program, and for the first 2 or 3 cohorts that you have, I want you to act like a college professor. Meaning that you outline expectations for what's going to be covered during the duration of their time in your class. Over time, you'll start to develop reading materials, worksheets, templates, checklists, step-by-step guides that will come over time. But I want you to treat it like a college class. I want you to put your college professor hat on. You're going to come to class and you are going to teach the material live. And the reason why I think that is the best approach to take, especially in the beginning when this is a newer offer, when you've worked with less than 30 clients in a group container, is because you get to practice your teaching style and you get real-time feedback. Every question that a client asks during a training lets you know where there's either a gap in comprehension, a gap in understanding, or a part of how you're teaching where it could be made better. If you go and pre-record all of your curriculum before you've taught it enough times, all you're going to end up doing is having to go back and re-record all the curriculum you just recorded. Because I guarantee you things are going to have to change. There's going to be things that you didn't realize. There's going to be assumptions that you made because of your unconscious competence around the material. If you are an expert packaging something that you've already done, packaging something that you know how to do, you're going to have unconscious competence around that subject matter, which means that you are going to unintentionally make assumptions about what your clients know or comprehend that they actually don't know. And you're going to skip over that or glaze through that when you are teaching. And then when you start teaching your clients, you're going to start getting a bunch of questions and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, my bad. I didn't realize, my bad. I need to take 2, 3, 4, 5 steps back so that I can include this in my curriculum. If you've already pre-recorded everything, all you're going to be doing is just making more work for yourself. You teaching live and not having worksheets but answering questions real time is not a deficiency. What adds value to a group program is your ability to simplify and streamline the steps that it takes a client to get a result. Not to overpack your program with 1,700 videos, with 50 hours worth of material, with 300 worksheets they got to print out and they still don't know what the hell to do. The best value that you can offer in a group program is being able to designing the most efficient, the least fluffy, the simplest way to get the result for the client. Not by giving them more content, making them consume more information, but what is the simplest consumption that they can make to get the result that was promised. That's the value. But I think many coaches feel like when they go to group that like, oh my gosh, if I don't have these really beautiful PDF downloads, if I don't have these like highly produced pre-recorded videos, and I'm not delivering value and I'm charging premium, so it needs to look polished. That is not the case. The polishing will happen over time. I don't want the perfection. I want the result. I don't want the polished PDF. I want the result. I'm paying for the results. That is all I am paying for. My value is extracted when I get the result that was promised. And I think, again, the polishing, the prettiness, the put togetherness will come over time. But if you recognize that your value as a coach is in your effectiveness of being able to teach the material and your effectiveness of being able to get your client the result that was promised, that is the most important thing that people are paying for. That is why they are paying premium, so that you do not waste their time, so that there isn't a bunch of fluff that they have to keep consuming and to get nowhere, and they still got to connect their own dots. I guarantee your clients would rather have less polished, but if it was better articulated and it was better taught so they can get the result faster. And I'm not saying that like put half-ass effort out, but recognize that your perfection and the value is not based off of how pretty your presentation is. It is about how effective you are as a teacher. It is about how effective you are at answering the questions and closing the gaps and supporting your client with getting the result. That is what matters most. So when the question comes is, should I pre-record my curriculum before I launch my group program? I think my answer is very clear. My answer is hell no. And again, it goes back to just recognize the season that you are in. Focus on what really matters. What matters most is, did I get my client the result? Am I teaching my material in a way that's consumable, that's digestible, digestible, that aligns with the learning personalities and the learning styles of my Olympian. And you realize that after you record that very first workshop or that first piece of curriculum, you might notice some common questions. That will help inform, what do I need to put into a worksheet? What do I need to pre-record and better communicate? What do I need to document on paper? Because they will tell you what needs to be documented. How do you know what needs to be documented if you ain't never taught it before? In the beginning, we are guessing, but I'm just like, again, I go back to my other assumption is, how can we be doing this in the most profitable way possible? The most profitable way possible is, I only want to spend money on making it perfect once I've already validated that the process actually delivers on the promise, not before. If I want to be profitable, I want to make sure that I am spending my time ironing out my teaching. Are there analogies I could be using to convey this point? Are there examples I could be using to really drive this home? How can I teach this exact same topic 2 or 3 different ways to make sure that people comprehend it? Spend your time doing that work. This is what we teach our clients inside of Leverage, and we show them a 3-step refinement process on how to amplify and enhance the caliber of their curriculum. So the very first thing that we teach them how to do is you teach it live. Does that mean that you might be uncomfortable? Yes. Does that mean that you might freak out on your very first call? Totally. You know what increases your confidence? Preparation. That's what enhances your confidence. Preparation is what will enhance your confidence. What you can do to prepare is make sure your energy is ready for it. Hype yourself up before your call. Write an evidence list reminding yourself of what you already know how to do, that you've already validated that you've done. Give yourself the trophy. But that's really what it's all about. Prepare for the teaching. And I think too is that trust the fact that where there are gaps in your curriculum, your expertise will shine. If you are teaching something that you have done, I'm a big believer in you need to teach what you have done, not what you are learning how to do. And what I mean by that is like, own your expertise. Trust the results that you have gotten and believe that the results that you have gotten are good enough. But sometimes we will go invest in another course or invest in another coach. We see our coach doing something at a level that we desire to be at, and then we start to get what? Imposter syndrome. We start to think, oh, mine's not good enough as hers, or mine's not good enough as his. And then we diminish ourselves. We dim our light. Just recognize that, honor the season that you are in. Own the promise that you know how to deliver on. Like, that's really all it is. And recognize that your program is designed to solve one problem, not every problem that your client will face. Listen, your clients have 99 problems. Your job of your program is to solve one of them, not every last one of them. So if you can honor that my responsibility with my curriculum is to design an A to Z process on how to achieve this one particular result, to deliver this one particular promise, then that can help me honor and own that this is the experience that I've already gotten. These are results I already know how to do. So even if all of your curriculum is not perfectly documented yet, which it won't be, again, it's refinement, it's getting data, it's enhancing what exists, it's building upon it. It's a continuous improvement process. Trust your expertise where your documentation falters. If somebody comes to me right now, even if I blew up my Leverage program and all of my documented curriculum was gone, guess what? I would still know how to help somebody get the result because, baby, it's in me. I know how to do it. So just trust that if you're on a coaching call, even if it's not documented, if a client asks a question, be grateful. Because if they're asking a question, they're saying, hey, either I didn't hear you say this, I didn't understand when you said it, or you didn't say it. There's a gap. Then it's like, okay, thank you so much for asking that question. Let me allow my expertise to come into play here to fill in the gap of where my documentation is lacking. Let me go create another teaching opportunity to teach that process or teach that element because it wasn't really clear. That's business. We are all building the plane while we are flying it. Too many people are trying to build their private jet, put all the seats in before you ever take off, but you don't even know if the plane will fly. You've got to launch the plane and be willing, creating capacity in your business model, creating capacity operationally to build the plane while you are flying it. So that is my 2 cents on documenting and pre-recording curriculum before you launch it. The refinement comes from having the data to know what needs to be developed, what needs to be enhanced, what needs to be perfected. That is where it comes from, not from you overanalyzing, making decisions based off of non-validated emotions or feelings that are not backed up by facts, that are not informed by data, and that are not qualified and validated through qualified paying leads. People who are credentialed to give you feedback. Thank you guys for rocking with me. If you want to be able to vote on future topics for live streams, go follow me on Instagram. I always like to put up a poll on my Instagram story so that you guys can vote. And just thank you guys for tuning in. So thanks a ton for coming. I will talk to y'all later. Have a great day. Bye, y'all. If you liked the video you just watched, click this one. You might like it even more. Go ahead, check it out.